we are going to pay homage to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha with the traditional chanting in Pali, Namo Tassa, and then Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saranam gacchāmi. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to share the practice that I follow, which by any standard, any means, is still very modest. I think it's important that we focus on emotion. I usually use the teaching of the Four Noble Truths and mindfulness to focus on emotion. When we talk about emotion, one story comes to my mind. This is from Tibetan Buddhism. One day, a cowboy, we may call this cowboy in American term, I don't know how the Tibetan would call this. In Tibet, you have a lot of yaks. And he was taking his yak through the mountain to graze. And then he came across a Buddhist monk meditating very deeply. He was very curious. He looked at the monk, the meditating monk, and he said, "What are you doing?" And the monk said, "I'm meditating." To the cowboy, a monk sitting in the snow on the Tibetan high plateau, alone, far from human inhabitants. This is something strange to the cowboy. So the cowboy said, "You are foolish." That shook the meditating monk. He was in deep meditation. He woke up just to answer this gentleman. But because of the remark from the cowherd, the herdsman, emotionally he was shaken, and he shouted back. He pointed his finger at the cowboy and said, "You are foolish." What to make of this? He is a meditating monk. who has left the society, even his monastery, for solitude, to dedicate himself and his time to meditation practice. And he couldn't take what a cowboy was remarking about him. Internally, he's being shaken. This is to say that concentration alone is not enough if we don't get to know our emotion. Sometimes we use concentration, the power of concentration in calm and peace, okay, to drive away or to run away from negative emotion, disturbing one. But when we actually have to encounter them on day-to-day basis, like in the hospital environment, what people tell you about, about you in media, social media, for example, how you're going to encounter those emotions. As you know, in the late 19th century, Charles Darwin from Cambridge University wrote a book. He published a book about emotion, the facial emotion. I'm very interested in this book because he's a natural scientist, and as you know, in natural science, you don't have any official position about consciousness. Everything is reduced to chemicals, reductionism. Just recently in England, the Royal Society and the British Academy, one of them, the Association of Top Humanities Scholars, the other natural scientists, they came together, this is about 10 years ago, to discuss about consciousness. Natural scientists, they know that to use chemical alone to explain emotion, and that's not enough. To study neuron in our brain and then to explain emotion, that's not enough. So the sixth emotion that Charles Darwin came up, that's facial emotion. Anthropologists and psychologists, they have added a few into the list, so we have grown up. This is as far as the Western scholarship is concerned. But when it comes to the Buddhist psychological tradition that goes back to 2,600 years, I like to quote Professor Rupert Cathy from Bristol University in England. Last year, in June, at the end of June, we had a conference on Abhidhamma at King's College, London University. I remember his closing remark. He said, the Buddhist tradition, especially the Abhidhamma, is the scholastic tradition with the longest record of studying human mind. I like to add that the Four Noble Truths, the mindfulness tradition, all the meditation tradition that we have in Buddhism is about the study of the mind. And how do we study the mind? I think to make it easy, I look at the two functions of the mind as emotion and thought. We can talk about memory, but you know, we can we can use this as second, just thought and emotion. But I don't really think for people, you know, who have gone through some kind of university education, we really need to think about. We need really to talk about, you know, thought. We are all very familiar with different thinking system. Sometimes what I tell the people, I mean, students and friends at Oxford, is that one shortcoming is that we go to university to learn how to think, but we have never really learned how to stop thinking. So as a result, what happens is that, okay, sometimes the thought keeps spinning and we can't sleep. And we tend to chemicals, you know, to use sleeping pill and all those things. So I think when we cannot stop our thinking, when automatic thought is spinning around, there is a driving force. Usually that driving force is emotion. That is why for the last few years, I have chosen to focus entirely on emotion management through mindfulness and compassion. Today, I'd like to talk about one aspect of this, about managing negative emotion with mindfulness and compassion. Why do we have negative emotion? Can we keep them out? Naturally, only a small part of the world is familiar to us. The larger part is not. Only a small portion of the world population is known to us. The majority is not. So we have to live with the unknown people, unknown situation. The animal kingdom. The animal kingdom. You have the predators, and you have prey, and they live side by side in the jungle. We call them a jungle, but they don't call it a jungle. That's their kingdom. It's part of life that the prey, they have to encounter the predator from time to time. During the summer month, where the water resources are scarce, both the prey and the predator, they have to come to the same water hole, to the same place to drink. Without drinking, they can't survive. So, just Charles Darwin says that as a living being, you know, we have survival instinct. When we detect any danger, we either follow the instinct of fight or flight. Fight or flight. If the prey think it can escape, it will just run away. The deer will run away from the lions, from the tigers. But it can't run away. It will fight back with more aggression. This is for survival, is about life and death. But as a human being, in a normal working environment, although we may not face life and death situation, actually we do use the same kind of survival instinct of fight and flight when we deal with our emotion. And the difference is that the animals, the prey, once they have escaped their predators, they can relax and start eating green grass straight away. Still mindful of being alert, still mindful of the danger, but they can relax and eat. But for example, today, if you have had a team meeting to decide a certain course of treatment, if your idea, your line of thought is rejected not just only today but also the previous day and perhaps also last week, maybe in terms of statistic, you have got more no than yes. It's likely that this will have some impact on your mind. I don't think it happened here in Singapore, but some consultant in England, I have many consultant friends. They say sometimes they have to ask psychologists to come and mediate between consultants, because the meeting, instead of 15-20 minutes, it drags on to an hour and a half, simply because none of them would be prepared to compromise. This can happen to Buddhist monk, as I have just said earlier, a meditating monk shouting back at the calm point. It can happen to anyone. So the Buddhist approach for the last 2,600 years is not to use fight or flight whenever possible. Instead, to use the approach what we call tend and befriend. Tend means to be tending, to pay attention, to dedicate attention to this. One psychologist said that what the world really needs is the education of attention. This is what Buddhism offers as meditation. Tend and befriend. Befriend is about making friend with our emotion, negative emotion. Usually when we see negative emotion in ourselves, maybe insecure feeling, maybe irritation, maybe jealousy, maybe annoyance, when you think you are being crossed, your path is being crossed, your professional courtesy is not being respected, the kind of reaction that we have, and those reactions if we leave them just like that, they will become established in our subconscious mind. They can surprise us anytime. Look at how the lions catch their prey. they rely on surprise factors. In the same way, negative emotion relies on the surprise factors. If we are not aware of the negative emotion existing, then the negative emotion can surprise us, can dominate our mind, can dominate our decision process, our decision-making process. And the way we decide to pursue in our life. Regarding the surprise factor, I have one more story. It's not my own story. It's a story from a very senior and experienced meditation teacher. There was a person going around knocking at people's door. Then when people in the house opened the door, then straight away he shouted at them. Okay. You are not really good as you claim, you are not really skillful as you claim, you're not really good meditator as you claim, you're not really kind as you claim, you are stupid like this, just like the cowboy says something to the meditative monk. So the people in the house are taken by surprise. Before they can say anything, the man leaves and he goes on to knock at the door in the next house, and he goes on like this. The people in the house, they have no idea where this man comes from, but he has abused them. He has abused them verbally. So what happened now is that the negative emotion is spinning around, it's repeating in their mind. We are really unlucky, maybe because of our past karma. Maybe because of our past karma. Maybe somebody is plotting against us. Maybe somebody has sent some, some people have, a certain plan to destroy us. People develop some fear, some insecurity. With that fear, with that insecurity, and also fury, those emotions coming together, now the auto mind is getting stronger. They only look at themselves, they don't look at around them. They didn't look at how that man, where that man comes from and which way he proceeds. They don't look at, they don't observe. They're not observant because they feel hurt and they use that hurt to form their identity. Now they think that in the whole town, in the whole country, they are the only one who have been abused this way. Then, after some time, another man comes around and knocks at the door. Now, they open the door with anger, with fury, with suspicion, with a lot of negative emotion. Remember, the first time they opened the door, the emotion was neutral. But now they're full of negative emotion. The second man asked, have you seen a man walking past by and knocking at people's door? Yes. Are you related? They are ready to hit at this man to call the police to catch him. But I said, no. He is crazy. He's crazy. He gives information. They got the information that the first man is a crazy man. When they got this information, all the negative emotion drop. They also become compassionate about the man. They are worried now he might get attacked by people who don't understand. You can see how the information from the second person changes your emotion. The first person is like a subconscious mind. It's like the habitual reaction. It's like what we usually call ignorance. You don't expect to have a crazy man knocking at your door. But by the time you got the right information, the negative emotion turns into compassion. You may ask yourself, do you get your door knocked at? Sometime during the meeting, sometime during driving to work, sometime driving back home, sometime traveling abroad, at the airport, at the immigration, on the flight. Do you ever get your door being knocked at by the first person? And do you ever have the second person coming to rescue you? The second person and the first person. The first person, don't personalize this. I'm not referring to people outside. Although you can, but it's here. Sometimes we don't get, and sometimes we don't look at the situation properly. Sometimes we kind of rush to our conclusion about people. We don't give them the benefit of doubt, and what happens is that we develop negative emotion to certain people. What we need is the second person to come around. The second person is mindfulness, is compassion. So negative emotion, don't run away and don't fight. To fight with them, if you're going to fight with them, you're going to use a lot of energy. You are in emergency mode. You use up a lot of your energy, your resources. It's not sustainable. Emotionally not sustainable. At the end of the day, you feel very tired, very exhausted, because since the meeting in the morning, you have been in emergency mode. You have been tense, physically, emotionally. You have been tense. Sometimes, you look at the muscles around your face, around your chin, they are tense. The tension that comes through our body, nerve system may come from the neurons, from our brain. As Professor Richardson from Wisconsin University, who has examined Buddhist monks meditating for 20-30 years. When we are under stress and we have a lot of anxiety, only the right side of the precortex has more activities. But when we are calm, then the left side of our precortex has more activity. So even our brain, there is a physical impact from the emotion. That is why they say to have positive emotion is very important, because positive emotion changes the neuron. And as you know, the latest neuroplasticity theory in neurology, with meditation, that the neurons, even the damaged one, they can rewire with the healthy one. and then help both the mind and the body. That is why in Vipassana meditation, in mindfulness meditation, the first step of knowledge in the traditional understanding is the knowledge of the mind and the body, meaning the mind and the body affecting each other, working together. This is the first knowledge, the knowledge of mind matter. So with scientific research backing up, and today what I like to do is to do a short meditation with you, about 10-15 minutes, and then we open up question. The instruction is very simple. Very simple. First, we are going to do mindfulness of breathing. You can do mindfulness of breathing the way you have trained yourself. You can count your breathing. You can, if you like, you can put a lot of effort into breathing. You can just breathe normal. In any way that would do. The thing is that mindfulness of breathing is very important. That's the message. When we are anxious, breathing pattern changes. The oxygen supply is not sufficient, and that affects the function of the organs and the mind as well. So just focus on breathing in and out. And then I'm going to suggest that it's like this. Mindfulness will be functioning in two stages. The first, when you're observing breathing, I would call this like passive mindfulness. You're just focusing on something which is there, not moving, like breathing. But the second stage, active mindfulness. For this one, I like to suggest that you go after your emotion. Deliberately go after your emotion. Today, have you got any negative emotions such as anxiety, worry, agitation, disappointment, any emotion? Just try to grab one of them. Just trying to look at this scenario. Either the emotion may be related to yourself, maybe related to other people. Just trying to grab that, and then orientate your mind towards compassion. Because whenever we are facing negative emotion, we are at a crossroad. At a crossroad, you have to turn either left or right. One of them is for the emotion to become more negative, to become more destructive. The other is to turn the anxiety into compassion, which is energizing. The other one, the destructive emotion, like annoyance, anger, automatic thought, they are very taxing. So you can see that every day with our emotion, we are at a crossroad. It's an emotional journey during the working hour. So to repeat the instruction, first observe breathing in and out for 2 or 3 minutes just to settle the mind. Then deliberately go after your emotion. If not today, then try to keep in touch with negative emotion in the past, in the near past. Don't run away from it. 10 and be friend. 10 means to accept that, to be friend with that, to register that. befriend is not to use fight or flight solution, but to look at that as friend, as if your friend is suffering, as if your only child is suffering, is crying, is being in fear. So what you do, you're not going to run away from your child, you're not going to fight with your child, instead you're going to reassure the child. This is compassion. So first is yourself. The second one is choose one family member and try to relate to his or her negative emotion. And the third one is your friend. The fourth one is your colleague. So 4 people. The first is yourself. The second one is one family member. The third one, your friend. The fourth one, your colleague. Before we start, any question? I'd like to conclude that we use mindfulness to accept negative emotion as they are without personalizing them, and we use compassion to turn negative emotion into our friend. When someone becomes our friend, we are not scared of them anymore, and we think about them in a more positive way. In the West, as you know, positive psychology has started about 20 years ago, and they promote values such as compassion that we in the Buddhist tradition have been doing for the last 2,600 years. So any question and comment? Dr. King Win, any question? Yes.
In your experience, such approach that you have been guiding us around, any possibility of applying to a schizophrenic mind who is at its active stage?
I think when somebody requires medical attention, I think it would be good if the clinical aspect is taken care of closely, and then I believe that it's possible to use this approach skillfully. Just like in medicine, this one also has its own dosage. So I think it's possible. Possible in a sense, I'm a hopeful and positive person. How much, I mean, with that kind of people, you need to give a lot of attention. And if we're able to provide that, I think it might help. I have seen some people who might be considered that kind of, who might be diagnosed as that kind of case. But because of the close attention that they get from their masters, from their teacher, and they also don't neglect the clinical need. So I think people remain stable. I have seen maybe one or two. I can't tell you the percentage. I have not done any research on this. I have not seen people doing research on this. But what we believe is that emotional training has an impact on the brain, on the neurons, and the neuron on the habit, on the emotional habit, and the habit on the neuron. You can see how they are affecting each other. Based on that theory, so my general answer is that I think so.
Would there be a possibility that the psychotic mind, the schizophrenic mind, is unable to meditate and they just have to exhaust their bad karma?
When we talk about meditation, are we talking about traditional meditation, closing your eyes? In most cases in Zen meditation, you don't close your eyes, but you're staring at something for a very long time. They may not be able to do this. But many ways of meditating. And we have disabled children visiting us maybe once a year, something like this. One child needs 2 attendants. You can see the severity if I say this. When they come, we like to introduce meditation to them. We want them to benefit. Even though they are in that state, what we do is that, okay, you listen and you close your eye, you listen. This draws attention of the children. And then say, okay, now I'm holding this, you can hit. And they hit just once and ask other children to pay attention to this. Because this is the education of attention. And then somebody, okay, any volunteer, okay, to lie down here and put this gong, okay, on your belly, and you close your eyes, okay, somebody who lies, and anyone who would volunteer to hit this gong, you can draw their attention. Usually they are very restless. They need 2 attendants, but for a brief period they calm down. I mean, don't talk about them. Like I visit private school annually, a few private schools, very bright boys and girls, boys school, girls school, in and around Oxford. They are equally restless. And I go into the room and the teacher says, okay, now this is your challenge. They would use that, the teacher would use their voice, I mean at the top of their voice. That's the way how they speak to their student. I straight away, okay, with my rope, and this is something peculiar to them. Okay, I'm here to challenge you. Yeah, they like being challenged at the age of 13, 14, 15, 16. They like being challenged. I challenge you, okay, to look at yourself, to count how many emotions you have and how many breathing you have. Okay, maybe in 3 minutes. can anyone, okay, so do the timer? We do this. Do you agree 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 2 minutes? Or it depends. I throw that to the class. Once agree, we do that. And I have also tried with children as young as 7. I sit around them. Okay, I sit around them. It's very similar to working on negative emotion. So trying to relate to the pain. First your own pain, and then wish yourself that this pain goes away. And then relate to the pain of your mom and dad, trying to relate to that pain and wish that. And the pain of your pet. Your pet. Sometimes they can't relate to the pain of their brother and sister, but they can relate to the pain of their pet very well. Like that. I spend time talking to children like that. There's a form of meditation. The cross-leg meditation is not, it's not the one form that fits everyone. Sometimes I say, okay, we're going to eat something. We're going to eat some apple. I give apple to children. Now, we have to chew 20 times. Those 20 times, you tell me how you feel. If you want to spit out, if you want to swallow very quickly and you become a kind of impatient. If you think it's just nonsense, you just tell me. People are tending and befriending their emotion. It's a form of meditation. Any more question and comment? Yes.
Ask another question.
Please.
The interpretation of Buddhism from Oxford, interpretation of Buddhism from direct transmission from the forest tradition. Is there certain things that the Oxford scholarly kind of Buddhist education cannot transmit to you?
I'd like to go back in historical a little bit. So Oxford has Sanskrit and Pali studies since 1830s. That is nearly 200 years. For the best part, maybe more than 100 years, it's only scholarly. But now you have students, a few groups of students meditating. You have most teachers, engaging in meditation themselves. We are only 45 minutes drive from Amaravati, the forest religion Ajahn. And Paul Seattle visited my monastery and gave a 3-hour talk. The scholarship has changed. Those days, before the 1960s, if a Buddhist scholar practiced Buddhism, his judgment is considered to be subjective, not objective. But that has totally changed. Only the minority of Buddhist scholars in the West don't practice meditation. The majority of them, they are all meditation teachers. In this kind of change environment, what Oxford and at Western University are interested is the application. Oxford has Oxford Mindfulness Center, a 2 years course, a 2 years master course in mindfulness, Buddhist psychology, clinical. These are all clinical psychologists from hospitals from all over the world. 12 students for every batch, 2 years. For every module, you meditate 5 days. 5 days. So the pure scholarship of the old day is gone. The application in anthropology, application in psychology, application in philosophy, in theology. I'm a member of theology department and theology like that. Now, when we talk about different meditation traditions, we are talking about different techniques. When we talk about techniques, we may differ because we rely on our own experience. The teacher, they rely on their experience and they transmit that. But if we talk about meditative qualities, we are the same. Mindfulness is not a meditation technique, it's a quality. Concentration is not a meditation technique, it's a meditative quality. Compassion is not a technique, it's a quality. When we talk about the 7 factors of enlightenment, we are talking about meditative qualities. In that way, we can understand the existence of many techniques. But people purifying their emotion, what we usually refer to as defilement. People purifying their emotion, not with a technique, but with qualities, meditative qualities. You can have them in the forest tradition, you can have them in the scholastic tradition. Some of the monks, they don't meditate as much, but if you observe them closely, their emotion management is as good. I'm not trying to defend the Oxford system as such. I'm just trying to inform you that the world has changed and it's like that. Yeah. Just to add 1 or 2 more, okay. Suppose I don't get my way in the day, I feel frustrated and that leads to anger. This approach is not to approach anger through fight or flight. Flight means to use concentration to suppress this. But in most Buddhist meditation tradition, we are talking about recognizing anger. So this means, okay, we use 10. But whether we use befriend, this is a question. How do you befriend your anger? We need to understand a kind of fight and flight. Fight and flight is okay. If you blame other people, I think now you are in the fighting mood. You're fighting with your own anger. You're justifying your anger. But if you don't blame other people, you blame yourself. This is a kind of flight. This is a kind of running away. You're not facing anger directly. So when we talk about non-judgmental mindfulness or total acceptance of anger, we are talking about not using fight and flight. Instead, to use compassion, that is in a part of metta, to observe anger. And in that way, we can transform the energy of anger into the energy of compassion. I think we can conclude here today. If you don't have any more questions, comment, any more questions? Yes, please.
Can I just ask, you said transform the energy of compassion into, energy of anger into energy of compassion. How is that done?
Yes. One of the minds of personalizing anger. By observing anger, compassion can arise, because you see that your mind is suffering from anger. Anger is what we call in Pali dukkha. In the Four Noble Truths, dukkha is not something to run away, it's not something to fight with. It's something to understand. something that has to be completely understood. Once you understand that understanding, if you like, use the word wisdom, gives rise to compassion. The Buddha, he looks at dukkha, he looked at suffering. But he did so in a very skillful way, that by looking at dukkha or suffering, that didn't depress him. Instead, he became compassionate. That gave him a lot of energy, because he could relate to the pain of many other people. Everyone who is angry, he can feel their pain. Do you get my point?
For example, like if I'm angry,
Mm.
then I try to understand that, okay, like I'm suffering right now, and then somehow I just relate it to like, okay, so there's dukkha in the world, and then everyone's experiencing dukkha. Then I just get very frustrated with the world. I'm just like, why am I still here? Like, yeah.
You know, when we try to understand suffering, sometimes we think about anger. We try to reason why we get angry. Reasoning is the task of philosophy. And in the summer, these philosophy students from Oxford Summer School, some of them came to my meditation class, and they asked me, what does Buddhism think about philosophy? I said, no, philosophy is very good, but it has its limit. What do you mean? The point is that, okay, you sit here with me for 20 minutes, don't move. When you are in discomfort, use all your philosophical position to reason this. Don't move. You will see the limit of your philosophy straight away. Meditation is about going beyond philosophy. It's about using philosophy and also going beyond that. In the first sermon, the Buddha talks about avoiding two extremes. I mean, two positions excluding each other that become too extreme. Meaning logic. In philosophy, we call this logic. Logic consists of two positions that exclude each other. The Buddha said, it doesn't matter how good our thinking is. If we follow logic, there is boundary. So the middle part in philosophy is called dialectic approach, meaning it goes beyond two extremes. This, as you can see in the Noble Eightfold Path, one is about training our attitude. Something like right view, right thing. This is about right. It's about our attitude. Actually, right thinking in the Four Noble, the first one is about the view, how we look at the world, our world view. The second one, right thought, is about right emotion. It's about not using violent thought, meaning fight and flight. Instead, to use compassion. That's right thought. It's not possible to use thinking, to use philosophy and develop compassion. Otherwise, compassion will be the exclusive property of educated people. That's not the case. So observant, to observe, to get connected with our anger, that's very important. When we get connected with our anger, we come to see how the subconscious mind behaves. Either blame other people or blame ourselves. Only these two. And those two, they exclude each other. So when we use mindfulness to observe them, to recognize them, now the blaming mind, the blaming habit, slowing down. Now we can look at anger, we can stare at anger straight without being shaken. without having to run away. To run, some people, we have two kinds of running. We either run out of anger and blaming other people, or we run away from anger, meaning, we don't like this and we blame ourselves. So, in anger management, the ability to look at anger without personalizing is very important. What we usually express in English, don't take it personally, is not that easy. But with the right training, it doesn't take that long either.
Last question. How do you look at anger like objectively? Because when I try, it oscillates. So initially, like you can see your thought, like you're thinking this, and after that you're watching yourself. Then you're thinking, then you're watching yourself. So like it doesn't happen simultaneously. Like my mind will like watch, like okay, I'm being angry. Then I just think about angry thoughts, and after that I watch myself. Like, oh, I thought of angry thoughts. Then after you start thinking angry thoughts, oh, I thought of angry thoughts, and then you just keep doing that until you get very very tired next week. So like, is that considered watching anger? Like how do you watch?
If you do this in your own time, not on spot, okay, in your own time, if you are observing your anger, I'd like to suggest that you revisit the past incident where you get angry. You visualize this situation to try to see if there's any anger hidden, if there's any hangover. If there is, then just trying to recognize anger, trying to feel how anger is putting pressure on your mind to think in negative way, how the mind becomes restless, how the mind tends to go into blaming mood, that sort of thing. We look at the, if you like, the symptoms, the symptoms of anger. If you try to visit as many incidents as possible, you are getting familiarized with anger. Then when you get angry, when you have to deal with anger on the spot, because you're already familiar with anger, this anger is not a wild animal anymore. There's less surprise factor. It's likely that you will be able to handle, to manage this anger a lot easier. Yes?
I think the meditation master, I must clarify this doubt. He was saying that some people use concentration to escape from suffering. So, are you saying that the samadhi meditation is discouraged as opposed to vipassana meditation, or the two is the same and yet not the same, or is concentration meditation?
I'm talking about in the pre-Buddhist meditation technique, where people develop concentration, to the highest level. But they didn't use concentration to kind of, if you like, do surgery on their emotion. So the emotion remained untouched. TM, as you know, transcendental meditation. This is non-Buddhist meditation. I have joined one or two because I'm part of the Interfaith Forum for the last 20 years in England, and when the Buddhists are the hosts, we offer some Buddhist meditation. Anyone interested can try. If we go to Brahma Kumari, and then we also try the TM, and if we go to Catholic Church and Anglican Church, and we join the prayer. This is part of the Interfaith Forum. Transcendental meditation is to move your mind to. Transcendent means not to touch what we are discussing here, anger, irritation, not to touch any of this, but to imagine that, okay, maybe you are in the cloud up there and floating, and try to imagine that kind of thing. the mind can become concentrated as well. But you also develop the habit of running away from the real world. But as far as the Buddhist meditation is concerned, when people do the samatha or the one-pointedness oriented meditation, it's only a question of when they will use concentration to tackle emotion. Usually in the Buddhist samatha meditation tradition, the emotions are described as 5 hindrances, and people use jhana, to work on them one by one. So there is no running away in that sense. If you go to that point, if you get to that point. Do I answer your question?
So are you able to go on the path just on samatha meditation?
In samatha meditation alone, in the Buddhist meditation, the samatha meditation, there's a lot of literature written on this, and the Buddhist meditation teaches, there's a lively discussion over the century on this. The samatha meditation, when they do the samatha, I know some of them, they get a kind of very attracted to the calmness, and they're reluctant to go beyond. But there are other samatha teachers, highly successful, who not just develop concentration, highly, the highest level concentration, but are also putting the concentration into using concentration as an instrument. What we have to keep in mind is our roadmap is the Four Noble Truths and Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path, you have concentration, you have also wisdom development, which is emotion is part of that, and way of life. So those 3 kinds of training that form the middle path, we shouldn't we shouldn't use them separately. The point of the middle path is about integrating them. It's about integrating all those qualities together. If we use them one by one, even pre-Buddhist meditation teachers, they were able to teach such technique. But what is unique to the Buddhist teaching is he brought those things together, and maybe also the way he look at dukkha, suffering, from the point of view of anatta. I think it's 8:30 now. So thank you very much. Thank you, and I wish all of you good health, happiness, and positive emotion management in day-to-day life. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.